Okay. I'm just laughing, you guys, because the music that they choose for like the wait music until you turn your mic on it's so ridiculous. It's like it's like this computerized I don't know what it is, but Elon chose this, I guess. And it's like this wait music before you get into the podcast and before you turn on your mic. So I'm just saying it was funny. I was sitting here laughing the whole time. Sorry, I have to wipe the laugh off because that music is like robot music. I don't know what it was. All right. Anyway, we're going to do predictions and we're going to do 2026, and I am psychic Carla Barron, and you guys know me for predictions from previous years, and we've done this. I don't know if I've actually done this on a space before. So this might be the first space where I actually do predictions, but I've done them as far as typing them out and posting them. And then we post them later as they start to manifest. So if you guys have questions about, I don't care what it's about, actually. I really don't care. As long as it's civil, it's respectful, and you know, I'll take a look. We'll see what we see. Um, but this is about anything that could happen this year. And it's predictions that psychics normally do. You will see all over the internet and all over social media, like every psychic who claims to be one. And I have news for you. At least 95% of them are not authentic. But, they try. They try, and they they put up a good game, but it's just most of them aren't. So, uh, you know, as far as their predictions, I see this all the time. Like I'll be scrolling through and they'll be posting predictions about, world events and climate change and politics and what's going to happen in World War III and all of that. First of all, we're not going to get like into tragic type stuff. That if you ask a question, please don't ask the question based on some other supposed psychic's revelation that, oh, this is going to happen and what do you think. Try to make the question organic, in your own head, and just give me the question as you want to ask it. You're curious, you want to know what's going to happen. So if you need to ask a question, just go ahead and submit your request. But as far as what I'm going to see, I don't know. And that means I'm real. That means I'm seeing this in real time as you guys are asking the question. Sometimes I will pop in with what's coming through if it's not related to your question, and I will say what it is. So that's how those things generally. I don't, I don't have any warning system or signal or alert that comes in my head and says, "Oh, you're about to get a psychic prophecy." That doesn't happen. But I know it's one because I know the place in my head where it comes from. And then I know it's not me thinking it. It's information or data that happens to filter into my brain that way. So I'm trying to explain that as best I can. As far as what I see, I'm just going to take a quick look here just to see what's coming up as far as any type of prediction that's just standing out to me right now and what they want to tell me. And they meaning my higher self or spirit guides that allow me to see certain things. If you are authentic as a psychic, you will not see things in every single detail. You will get breadcrumbs that will not destroy or hamper the path that we're on, because if we knew too much about it, we may do it differently, kind of thing. So we don't get information like that, where that's sort of irresponsible. If we got the information and we got it in all the detail and all the stuff, I mean, basically human beings wouldn't have to do anything. They would just plug into us and we would tell them what to do, and nobody would learn, nobody would ascend, nobody would have any growth. So these are based on, this is information that filters in, and I can tell in the place in my brain the difference from what I would think is Carla, or just myself, or what I would deduce based on information I've been handed on the internet, or it comes in this other place where very often I disagree with myself and I'm like, no, 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 that can't be true. And it is true. So that's what happens. I'm trying to explain how it happens with most of the people that as as noted psychic mediums. They put out these predictions every year, and it's fine, it's entertaining. And that's why they put all the disclaimers on it. Notice, I am not giving you any disclaimers. This is me, and I will own everything I say. There's no disclaimer. I have no reason to take back any of my words. I stand behind them, and I stand behind what I see. So that's where we are. Okay, let me take a look just real quick. I have my regular playing cards. That's what I use. And again, for those that don't know, the reason I use regular playing cards is because tarot cards I used to use for a long time, for like maybe, I don't know, 10 years. I used tarot cards. But the tarot cards had too many images on them and they were distracting to me. And I get distracted by visuals, which is why I do not read people in person. I read their voice print. Every reading I have done in my entire life has been by your voice print. It has nothing to do with what you look like or what you're wearing, or it's fun to go to a psychic and let's go see one. It's Saturday night, none of that. So uh why is Michelle asking where is everyone? Michelle, get in the okay. For some reason Michelle isn't getting in here. We have started. I am typing to her. She's lost. Michelle is lost over there. All right. So somebody tell Michelle what's going on. Anyway. All right. So let's begin. I am going to take a look at just what's coming through. I'm assuming all you guys can still hear me over there. There's very many of you in the gallery over there. All right, so Michelle got my message. For some reason, Michelle is wondering, where is everyone? All right, Michelle, get your ass in here. God, it's like she's been on every single one. How is this like different from the other ones, Michelle? Get in here. All right, so anyway, let me just take a look at what they're showing me and what the prevalent theme will be for 2026. Okay. Let me just see. Let me take a look. All right. And the reason I use regular playing cards again is because I get distracted by visuals. Even if you were directly in front of me, if you notice on television, if you see me reading, I will look to the side of you. I will never look directly at you. And that's because it's too much distraction. It takes me away from the thread of what I'm being fed from, you know, this source. Is this source some sort of godlike source? Is it the universe? Is it God? Is it the angels? Is it whatever? It's my higher spirit guides. It's, you know, it's information that's never done me wrong, and I've always received it not from a religious standpoint, but from a truthful one. So it's never been wrong. And I don't do anything malevolent with it. So therefore, in my mind, it's good. It's a good source. All right, let me take a look. Let's just see what's coming up. Annie, you finally made it in here, girl. Thank God. All right. So let me take a look. Let me just see what's coming up. Let me see what they want to tell me and share with me about 2026. Okay, there we go. All right. I have to say that that one of the messages coming through for 2026 is for some reason the word commerce. Okay, commerce, money, power derived from money, commerce. And this is world commerce. This is banking. This is banking that's connected all around the world. And a lot of the reason we're seeing discourse all across, you know, every continent is because of this element. So this is what they're showing me. This is one of the main reasons that any of this is happening right now. It's who's going to acquire the most, who is going to hold reign over the most that they can, or the rest of the world, with commerce, with money, with controlling the banks, with controlling anything that's of value. I think I brought this up in the last podcast on the Christmas one, where we were talking about, banking. Like banking in itself will change. Banking will have a whole makeover from what I'm seeing. This will not start until 2027. It looks like it's going to be enacted in 2028. But I see banking on the whole just disintegrating. The way that we buy and sell, what is of value, the actual currency. A lot of this will be interconnected throughout the world instead of just one country has everything and the rest don't, or it looks like it's more along the lines of what I said. It's connected with all the countries, with all the formats. I don't know how to explain it because I haven't seen anything like this before, but I see that it's not crypto. That's the thing. I don't see crypto being the thing that takes over the world. It sort of had a start, but that's going to flicker out. I think that flame is going to go away. So cryptocurrency will not have, because I think there's just a distrust in the internet and that way of thinking. There's going to be another form of banking, but it looks like it's worldwide, and it looks like it's connected, so that if one bank fails, that it's not just your country that takes care of it. It looks like it's a worldwide banking system because there's too much competition within the currency. So, and it's not cryptocurrency. It's not something that could be corrupted as crypto is. So it looks like it's pretty secure. This whole thing where it's FDIC and whatever in this country, like that whole thing will change. That didn't protect banks from collapsing. A lot of the disruption happened because there were loopholes and there was you know uh, infiltration by other countries, and they were able to get in there and actually manipulate the market. The stock market as we know it will change. That I can tell you. It looks like it's in line with that same time frame. I'm seeing 2027 where uh, we get the first inklings of what that system will be. The system will be different. That's all I'm being told. It will be different. It will be accessible and protected by many fail safes. It won't just be one country and some ruler of one country saying, "Hey, this is how this works." Um, it looks like the fail safes and the guards that are in place will will protect the currency, will protect anything of value. It'll be it'll be supported by a system that's worldwide, though. It doesn't look like it's by country. So let me triple check that right now just to make sure, because that's one of the first things they're telling me. And that's why we have such a discrepancy between the rich and the poor. You know, the rich are the ones that found out the loopholes and figured out how to manipulate the system. Well, if the system changes, then and it favors everybody, then the corruption won't be so easily manipulated. All right, let me see. Okay, let me see if this is correct. It looks like it is, and I'm telling you that part of the problem, the wars that are happening right now and whatever. I mean, all of this is being funded so that those in power can make more money. Um, so this will not be the theme anymore. 2026 will be the reopening of. It'll rip a hole in the fabric of space and time as we know it, as far as our view of money, our view of success, our view of you know you go to work, you get paid, and what can you buy with it. That will all be different. I see a new system in play, and I don't think it happens until there is some sort of a worldwide war. I think it's triggered. And I hate to say that part, but I see that we won't learn to erect something new until we're forced into it by something so horrible that we quickly recalibrate, and we take ourselves into a better place with that, a better way of thinking. And we stop thinking about how greedy we are, and we start putting things back together again before we blow up our entire universe. So I do see the threat of some sort of worldwide. It looks short-lived, though. Again, I'm going to say short-lived. I don't think it's going to last very long. any type of world war that will ensue looks like it's it's short. It's not like before. I mean, they it looks like it's shut down right away. But I don't see that it won't start. If somebody else asks me that question, I'll look again, but I see that it will actually start. As far as when, let me take a look. Let me see when. Okay. Um, will this world war, as short or as long as it's going to be, will this occur in 2026? Uh, okay, if this is going to happen, it looks like we have, I see a 2 month window. Okay. Actually, 3 months between the month of April and July. Those are our goal posts. You know, let me just look at, hold on. Okay. There's an attack first. There's an attack first, and I feel like it's coming our way. I feel the United States is left somewhat vulnerable here, and I'm not sure why, because I'm not sure why, but that's what I'm seeing. And because we're attacked, then everything goes into motion. Um, if and when this is going to happen, it looks like it's between April and July. I'd say June is our best bet, though, because that's being highlighted more than the other two. So June looks like the start of, like, if we don't change gears right now and we don't change our tack and what how we're approaching things as this country, that's what's on the timeline right now. That's what 2026 is showing me. So is that written in stone? No. It is probable, though. I'm being shown it's got like a 70% chance of happening. The other percentage is if we get a clue. But right now, the path that we're on, we're headed towards that because of ego, because of money, because of currency, because, people and leaders, supposed leaders, trying to one up each other, and the competition that they're having has significant fallout. So the dates that I am seeing as the beginning and the end, if we are going to take that road, is between April of 2026 and July, most likely June, like end of, like right around Memorial Day, actually. And it looks like it's surprise. I don't think that any of that starting is expected. I get the element of surprise, and it's someone that's pretending to be an ally and they turn. They have been lying the entire time, and they turn on a dime and they attack. Now, which country is being attacked? Again, I see it being us. And where will this happen? I'm getting, I'm still getting Alaska. I'm still getting Alaska as a problem area. But the other one I'm being shown right now is Hawaii. So I don't think it's going to be continental US. I think it's going to be one of those. For some reason, I'm seeing Hawaii in here, and I'm not really sure why. So I'm going to take a quick look. That's new. I didn't see Hawaii before. Let me just see what's going on there. Is Hawaii the target? Ah, okay. Hawaii may become the target because they do a test run that may fail in Alaska. Something is shut down, or they're too prepared, and there's a counterattack, and so it doesn't work. So it looks like Hawaii is the surprise. I'm just going to say that that's what I'm being shown. I mean, I have no idea why. But when I'm shown things like this that are different from what I actually know as Carla, then I know it's coming from that place, that psychic place. Michelle, I see you made it in. Thank God. Michelle is our little note taker. All right. I need you guys to ask me questions. I mean, I'm just seeing a whole bunch of stuff here. So submit a request to speak if you want to ask about some of the things I'm seeing. Yeah, that's different. I didn't see Hawaii before. And it shows that Hawaii is becoming a target because the other target, we were prepared, it seems. Like we got word of it ahead of time. They were sloppy. They messed up. So then I see right after that, though, and not too much longer, like within a 4-week span, Hawaii, like a very short amount of time. So I'm not really sure what this means. Let me just see how much damage is done. All right, let me take a look at that. Let's see how much damage we're looking at. If and when we are attacked as a nation, will this be like just all out world war? What's going to happen? What is this going to trigger? Let me just look. Okay, first of all the powers that be will heavily deny that it's them. That's going to be our first clue. They're going to deny that it's them. Everybody's on denial. All the would-be assassins, they're all on denial here. They don't think that, they have no idea what's going on, and we're crazy. But they know exactly what's going on. Because I get that was the plan all along, to deny it once it happened. So no one knows, but it looks like an alliance between a couple different countries here. One, I'm seeing what looks to be China, North Korea, China, North Korea, China, North. Okay. Or both of them together. Because I'm seeing these two countries coming up, and I'm seeing some sort of pact, some sort of an arrangement. Like, okay, if you join us for this, this will happen. Like, and you'll benefit greatly. And nobody will know it's you because we're going to hide who it was. Nobody's going to claim this action. on the United States. Nobody's fool enough to do that. So it just looks like I don't see the regular players here. I don't see Russia like coming out saying, "Oh, it's us." I think that they have again other tethers out there that are hooking into other countries and threatening them with things. But I think that the ones that are willing to take a chance on this, I'm seeing China, I'm seeing North Korea. I'm seeing both of these, but I'm also seeing them having some sort of like under the table agreement that if we do this, don't worry, nobody will know it was you. There won't be any signature that says it's you. It'll, we're handing this off to somebody else. It'll be funded by somebody else. You'll never be caught. That's the kind of language I'm hearing, that no one will ever know that this is happening. So they're not afraid then. I see no fear. I see just execution. I see they come up with this and it's very fine-tuned execution. That's what I see. Let me just take a look. Oh, I have to look to see if anybody wants to talk here. I'm sitting here talking. Like, if anybody has a question, just go ahead and submit a request. All right, so let me just keep looking while I'm getting stuff. Again, I get surprise. I get element of surprise. No one expects it, and I get it's within a very short time frame from the other attack. That doesn't make it work. All right, Michelle, I put you on here. Did you have a question about something I'm saying? Michelle, I added you.
Does President Trump know what's going on? I'm being polite.
Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it was the way you asked it.
You know it. Happy New Year, Carla.
Happy New Year to you too. All right, so let me look. You mean is he involved in the planning of this?
Yes, is he
All right,
aware?
okay.
Is he aware?
All right, let me take a look. Just relax and breathe. Let me just take a look. Is Trump aware of this action being taken? No, actually. No.
Interesting.
You would think, but no. And here's the thing. I think it's somebody that's targeting him directly for something that he did. It's a personal, this is personal for them. So it's something he did that caused these series of events to happen.
That's got to be a long list.
Well, I see it being something that he did that he probably didn't even think would even ruffle any feathers. But I see that this thing that he didn't think would set off this chain of events actually does. So there's something that he does that has, he thinks it's so insignificant. He was just joking. He was just doing whatever and being himself. And, he did something. What he didn't realize that was underneath the surface. That's what I'm seeing. The big element here is everything's under the surface. Everything is hidden. I see this whole thing is being erected underneath the surface. No one knows anything about it. This is just a couple of people that are putting this together, a couple of very powerful people. I am seeing it. You know what it looks like to me? This is what it looks like. It looks like when you're trying to triangulate a phone call and it's being sent through, you know, or somebody's IP address and it's being sent through all these servers all across the world.
Mm,
That's what it looks like to me. It looks like
wow.
this money that is funding this effort is being moved through various countries, various channels, various banks, and it's being bounced around so many times that no
Wow.
one's thinking anything of it. And they're doing this on purpose. They're purposely hiding the trail. I see that the two entities that I named are
Hmm.
hiding this. They're hiding the trail, and they're fairly certain that no one will ever know it was them, except for maybe me because I'm seeing it right now. So, nobody thinks anything of me, so I'm not a threat as of yet.
Very interesting.
But that's what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing the weirdest alliance. Why am I seeing China with South Korea or North Korea? Sorry, not South Korea,
Hmm.
North Korea. China, South Korea is unaware of this, by the way,
Right.
unaware of any of this. So North Korea and China. These are the two entities. I'm seeing the funding being bounced around to various, uh, like all over the world. It's like they're going to try to put a trace on it. Where did this come from? Where did this attack come from? Uh, no one is claiming this as their own. They just have a common enemy. It's the United States. It's Donald Trump. So they are attacking based on that, and the fact that no one will know. Don't worry, you won't get nuked because nobody will know it was actually you. They can't prove it. And I mean, like it's on a VPN and it's just bouncing all over the world with banking, and the funding is coming. It's being laundered through various activities that have nothing to do with munitions or war or any of that. It's being funneled through regular channels.
Crazy.
And he doesn't know about it. Donald Trump is unaware of this right now. I am not sure.
Wow.
I am not sure what's going on, but uh, that was weird to see. Did you have another question about that?
Um, no.
Okay. And was there
No.
any other
Thank
question you
you.
had that wasn't related to that?
Um, no, not really. Thank goodness.
Okay.
I'm good.
Let's
Thank you, Carla.
No, you're welcome. I'm glad you made it back in. All right, so I just added somebody. Who did I add? Okay, I added Momster. I don't know you, but I'm going to take a chance on you. So I just added you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. What's your first?
Hey,
Can you say?
my name is Sarah. I'm actually Candace. I see her in
Oh,
here. I'm her daughter.
okay, Candace.
I'm her daughter. I saw her watching, so decided to join.
Okay.
Wanted to say hello to everyone. What are you seeing about the take with the Israel funding? As much as we're giving to Israel for wars that we don't want to be a part of. What's your take on that?
Okay. So you want to know if if the funding is begetting some other type of, if it's actually representing something else?
Correct. I feel like there is a kind of a divergent potential funneling that we're all paying for.
Okay, just relax. Let me just take a look. And welcome. All right,
Thank you.
let me see what we got here. The weirdest thing. Um, I almost get, okay, I'm just going to say what I'm hearing. I'm hearing real estate, and I'm hearing land, and I'm hearing buying up resources. So that seems to be the reason. So I don't think it has anything, we're paying the tab for something else that's going on that's personal to Donald Trump and his whatever he's trying to do. But it looks like property. He's buying up land it looks like valuable real estate that maybe is key to various trade routes or something like that. It
That seems on point. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know because I don't have time, number one, to watch the news all the time, so I don't even know. So if I'm saying something wrong, just correct me. But
No, I actually, that was, I think, spot on, actually. Just some of the stuff that I watched and listened to, and not completely full on, but yeah, it seems like there's like a real estate thing happening,
well,
unfortunately, the cost of
and
lives.
that was very psychic when that just came through because it wasn't something that I, as Carla, actually know. So, I can't be versed in every single topic in the world. I mean, I just don't have the capacity or the time to learn everything that's out there. But when I do look psychically, I do look at the information and I try to take it in its purest form and I don't try to alter it in any which way to make me sound like I'm plausible or that the theory that I'm proffering is correct. I don't care if it's correct. This is what I'm being shown. So, um, this has to do with acquisitions on his part and controlling trade. That's what I'm seeing. Trade.
No, I appreciate it. That's great.
Well, I'm glad you stopped by. Did you have another question?
I didn't. I just started listening, and I just wanted to kind of pop in and get your take on some stuff. So it's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So let's see if we have anybody else in here. All right. So does anyone else have a question about it? Doesn't matter what it's about as long as it's about 2026. So, another part of what I was seeing as far as, you know, like releasing viruses and our health issues and shutting down uh, countries once again in a COVID type nightmare. And is that going to happen? I I don't think on the scale that it did. I think the only reason COVID worked the first time was because everybody was taken by surprise and nobody was really educated about what it was. So it was fear of the unknown. That's why it worked. I mean, yes, people were dying, but it was fear of the unknown. That's what exacerbated the whole thing. And, it I think that's why it took root as quickly as it did. Um, because I mean, if we look at history, we look at the fact that all across the world during various times in of historical reference, we see that, you know, um, we see plagues that have taken out entire civilizations. We see, you know, um, and a lot of times this, like bubonic plague. I mean, we see things that have done this, but we haven't had the fear about it like we did with this, where it was controlling nations, it was controlling the world, it was controlling commerce. It was basically, you know, it was causing people to just shut down and be paralyzed. You know, and yes, a lot of lives were lost, but a lot of lives were lost in those other plagues too. What was the difference? The difference was the COVID situation was targeted. That was a man-made situation to control the masses.
Do you feel like it potentially had more, I guess, dynamic consequences on us now compared to like 1918 because our social media and we have instant access to information where before it trickled down, you had to get the newspaper, we had telegraph, whatever. Do you think that has kind of some sort of why things became so overblown this time?
I think that's definitely an element of the transparency of it all, and like they have to operate at a much faster clip now. But I think that it can also turn against us with the social media too, because they can change the narrative and
Absolutely.
make it sound like the truth, and like we have to buy it in the same way that we did the original information. So it's coming down to each singular person, each soul, doing your own check, doing your own check with your higher self, going, is this right? Is this correct? Does this sound like truth to me? And if it doesn't, then maybe do your own research, do your own, you know, discovery. And instead of just being fed like we have been, there's nothing wrong in double checking things, triple checking things. Um, especially at this point, because, yes, the narrative which was manipulated quite a bit. Um, and, it's something that has affected every single person. I mean, there's not one person that I physically know that hasn't been affected by COVID and what happened during that time. Whether or not you have like some residue, that's some fallout from that yourself, or you lost someone due to a COVID death, or or you lost your house, or you lost your job, or whatever it was. um the impact that it had was it caused a diversion. It took your attention away from something else, and that was the reason it was enacted in the first place.
Completely agree.
So, I mean, we just have to watch out for this stuff. We can't, there's no way to really stop it. There's only what you can do in your own backyard to prevent yourself from being, impacted by it. So everybody do their own check. That's the only thing that I can say, is just do your own check, do your own research, do your own, check in with your higher self and go, does that even sound right to you? And don't just accept everything verbatim, because it's manipulation at its best, at its finest. So we're looking at, are we looking at that again? Not in that magnitude. I think that we're aware of what that was and the manipulation that it was. So I think, it won't have the same pull that it did before. So if they try to do that again, we're prepared for it. There's too many people that are going to say no, and just they just don't follow the path of whatever they're being told. But I don't think that's our greatest fear right now. I think what we have to look at is, we've placed power in the hands of some people that are questionable at best. And whether it's ego driven or it's driven by greed or desperation or whatever it is, I don't care. But it's their karmic battle, not ours. But we're getting sucked up into it, into that black hole that's their tragic set of circumstances. And they're creating legacies for themselves, and we're the instant fallout from that. We have to not be afraid to just do. Look, we're coming around again to the same sort of astrological configurations that the Revolutionary War had. Okay, so just think back to then. Were they afraid to actually just take it upon themselves to do the right thing? Because they knew what was happening. The regime was wrong. What they were being told was wrong. Were they afraid? No. We're circling back to that same cyclical time in history. So think back to Revolutionary War. It's so funny because they're talking about, oh, the 250th anniversary is coming around and this and that. It's so funny that that's in the news right now, because that's exactly what's happening astrologically. We're looking at that same framework, and this time we better do it better. It's the same lessons, just in a higher format. We're a little more progressed now, but it's the same karmic law that's being addressed. Okay. I get on my little tangents. I'm sorry. I apologize. So I want to look at other things that may be shown to me as far as like what predictions I'm seeing for 2026, actual authentic predictions. It's funny. I am seeing one that's sort of, it's dealing with, the geophysical part of Earth. And I am seeing we are going to have, it's not just weather patterns. I'm seeing something else happening, either with the rotation, the Earth's rotation. Something's happening where it's going to be bigger than anything we've ever, like, it's a shift that I see that will actually alter continents. I'll come back to that. Let me see who requested. All right, Candace, I put you on. Okay, Candace.
Yes, I have a question. Hi, Sarah.
Hey.
I have a question
Hi, Mama.
about the earthquakes that we've got along the Oregon coast. And
Okay.
since you started bringing up that about the Earth, I've kind of wondered, is that going to upset everything if we start having big ones?
Well, I think it's more that other areas that haven't experienced earthquakes will start having them. I see everything flipping. Like California is being known for being warm and hot during most of the year, right? So
Right.
I see the temperatures flipping. where all of a sudden it's going to be cold all the time. That's what's making me think that there's a polar shift of some kind that's coming that we don't. I mean, maybe they're monitoring this gravitational pull, whatever they're monitoring, but I see this being. Uh, it has more to do with an Earth shift that happens, and it's not just the hurricanes, it's not just the tornadoes and the weather patterns. It looks like our actual magnetic fields are going to change, if that makes any sense.
Yes, thank you.
It looks like the ley lines will change. The ley lines
Are you
that we know will change.
are you familiar with the Georgia Guidestones that are no longer there? Mom and I visited them,
What,
and all of
well,
everything
you're
that it
going to have
talked
to
about.
tell me because I haven't heard of these. So tell me what they are.
So the Georgia Guidestones, it was put up. We're not sure if the Rosicrucians or who did it. It kind of was an anomaly. We actually saw Brad Meltzer had done a show on it. So when she came to visit, we went and checked them out, and it had it was set up for when times change, and it talked about the West Coast will no longer be the coast, and which Mom brought up about the earthquakes and the shifting tectonics. And so then I wonder like what your feeling is with that, where these guide stones talk about how we're to live when kind of everything that we know falls apart. Like, Egyptians, we had all that. And then now we're trying to figure out hieroglyphs. Well, now we have emojis. So are future generations going to have to figure out what emojis meant? But what's your feeling on with the guide stones, with what they talked about? They had all the different languages of how we were to move forward with no technology, and it kind of based on when like, yeah, the West Coast kind of falls off because of earthquakes, anything like that, and we are seeing that shift. So that is, I do question that.
Well, part of what I'm being shown is not only will the topography be different, the land masses and the water masses will be a different shape, but it looks like you would think that it's us doing this to ourselves, but I don't think so. I think this is happening as like it's just a universal event, like the Great Floods. I mean, it's like a universal event, and sometimes those come in, whether it's biblical in nature or not. It's from the Bible. I don't know, but it looks like it has to do with people aren't getting it. They aren't learning. And they have to be hit with something so hard, so tragic, so catastrophic that they stop. Because people aren't stopping, they aren't looking at what they're doing. Everybody just keeps going along like everything's going to be fine, like everything's going to be the same way tomorrow. And I see whatever this is, whatever this gravity, I'm seeing plate shifting, but it looks like polar caps are shifting. The polar caps themselves will be different. Like certain areas will become the North Pole and the South Pole. Like it'll just be different. Like our maps will have to be rewritten because everything will be different then. Certain areas will be underwater that weren't before. And I don't think it's from any, I agreed that tornadoes and hurricanes and weather patterns and perfect storms and all that, these magnetic fields that cause like Bermuda Triangle and whatever. Yeah, all that's going to change. And I'm seeing a magnetic field ley line alteration, like a like almost like a like some sort of a break in the magnetic field itself. Like it looks like there's an aberration of sorts. That's what it looks like to me. Like it's severed in a couple of places, and it causes the actual poles to shift to different poles. Different areas of the Earth will be the North Pole and the South Pole then. How long will that take? In the 22nd century, we will see this. So it's less than 100 years away, because that's the year I'm being shown. It's less than 100 years away. The thing is, can we stop it? I don't know, because I'm not really sure it's man-made. I think what's happening is I'm being told the word stressed, like the Earth itself is so stressed. That amount of stress is actually causing the Earth's crust to react to it. You know, there's something to be said for stress, and is it a real thing, and can that impact your environment? Of course it can. It can make a person very ill when you used to be healthy. You know, it's something that I think is happening. I think the Earth in itself is under tremendous stress. Is it some sort of, random, rogue asteroid that's going to hit the Earth and we're all going to suffer? I think that might happen, but I don't think that that's what's going to cause this. I see the poles shifting, and I'm getting the magnetic field is the key. The ley lines, the magnetic field is the key. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to go do a little research on that and come back to me and educate me on how that works. But that's what I'm seeing as the trigger. And it's from the amount of stress we're placing on this planet, whether it be emotional, environmental, just, can our thoughts actually cause that much stress as societies or as the world collective to shift poles like that and to make the magnetic ley lines alter or break or sever or cause an aberration like that? Yeah, it can. So it's not just some cartoon, guys. I mean, I think that can actually happen. It's not conspiracy theory. It's just, the amount of stress that we put into the ethers will have an effect one day. And we don't count that as, anything serious. Tanya, I have you on, girl. All right, Tanya.
Hi.
Hey, you.
Hi, I just have a couple things. What you were just talking about, I lived in Florida 12 or 13 years now. And over that time period, things have shifted so much. The Gulf of Mexico is 93 degrees in the summer. I mean, it's hot. The temperature rose so much, and which causes the disturbance of the hurricanes come in and they get that much more powerful and big when Ian hit, I was here, and it wiped out land masses. It created an island. It just so drastic. The change over that few many years, it is quite visible. I mean, it gets so hot now, you know, it and then it goes to the other degree. Like we just had 30 something degree temperatures at night. So I see what you're saying. Everything is just
Well,
shifting and
it's
changing.
shifting from what it was before. Like,
Right,
you
right.
know, California is increasingly becoming very cold compared to what it used to be.
Is it? Yeah.
When I first moved here, it wasn't like, it wasn't, but, there were times where, I mean, I remember one summer it went up to 117 degrees outside my
Wow.
window, and like people were dropping dead. Um,
Yeah.
but it's it's something where what you expect for that region to be
Mm-hmm.
will be the opposite. It's
Right.
everything will have shifted to something unexpected, something that you're not prepared for.
I mean, there's earthquakes in Massachusetts now. I mean, you
Well,
know.
and it's telling me that there is an element of poles actually shifting. Magnetic ley lines are shifting
Mm-hmm.
to different grids. The grid itself is shifting. The world map will shift. They're going to have to redo the whole thing
Wow.
because it won't look like it does now. In
Which in turn, yeah. Go ahead.
2200 beyond, I mean, to be honest, the date that I saw was actually in 21 something. It looks 21. Okay, I'm just going to say a date
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to put it out there because the numbers that I saw were 2137,
Okay.
2137.
Okay.
Will I still be alive then? Most likely not. I'm just, maybe I will be.
You might be floating around somewhere.
Maybe I'll be like hooked up to a machine or something. Um, but and they'll use my brain for some sort of like Tom Cruise movie with
Yeah.
but a part of what I'm seeing is 2137. That was the date that I saw before. It's the
Right.
22nd century. So by the time you get to 2200, I mean the whole grid is different.
Wow.
The magnetic ley lines, some of them are actually broken and severed.
Oh my goodness.
They look like it looks like when you have like a lightning symbol, it looks like that where it goes down and then over and then down again. Like it goes down in a parallel.
Wow.
And it looks like a lightning symbol.
Hmm. Which in turn will change everybody, every animal, every
Well, we're
everything.
going to have mutant species of things. We're going to have uh, elements of birth defects from certain things,
Yeah.
because the people aren't prepared.
Right.
You're being exposed to certain toxic elements because the Earth's crust is changing so dramatically and so rapidly without it's not happening in a slow manner. I get that there's a break, there's an event.
Right.
Let me just say that there's an event, and I see that both the poles will be different.
Wow.
They will be situated in different areas of our planet.
Will this be a livable planet? Like, I'm sure not like we know now, but
I'm seeing a lot of like canopy structures. That's what it looks like. It looks like canopies, like enclosed uh, cells of sort of um, frequency that causes like a dome over the city.
really.
Yeah, they're
Hmm.
able to put some sort of dome over to protect the air and to protect the environment, and so that
Wow.
things will grow, because I get that the sun will be one of the worst. Yeah, the sun is going to become so dangerous because it comes dangerously close to the earth, as you know, and certain country like they need the protection from that.
Right, right.
But it looks like the solar flares and the sun's uh, positioning, like it looks like it becomes it just it scorches, you know.
Wow. Yeah,
So
not good.
I'm not really sure if it's, you know, everybody's screaming, oh, it's man-made, it's because we're so industrial, it's because, you know, of all the, you know, we're ruining
Hmm.
our natural resources. Well, yeah, that's happening, but it's I don't think that's going to cause the poles to shift.
Right.
I see an event happening where the structure of the ley lines, it actually severs, and it looks like a lightning bolt to me, where it goes down and then it goes over and down again in a parallel, breaks like certain areas of the earth where it's like a dead zone, or
Wow.
like there are
Okay.
certain laws where, you know, there's certain areas that are restricted, like you will not be allowed to go into those areas,
Hmm.
and it's because of that aberration that happens.
Yeah. Wow.
And what's the event that causes it? I don't know. I'm trying to see what it is, but I can see that the sun is dangerously close to the earth at certain points of the year, like
Yeah.
dangerously close. So they had to come up with a technology that would put a dome that would filter out those rays
Wow.
so that life could survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm seeing
Wow.
very strange things right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully, some of that is resonating with you guys, and you're seeing. You know, I mean, that's a lot of times when you do predictions. You know, people do predictions thinking, oh, well, you know, if I say something like really out there, you know, it'll be like the best predictions podcast ever, and that's not
Mm.
what I'm going for here.
No. No.
I'm trying to alert us to things that are about to happen. But you know, here's the good note on this. Human beings are very adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
We just are. Look at what we've gone through, and we will adapt quickly.
Oh yeah.
Whatever
Yep.
the situation is, we will adapt, we will conform, we will we will align ourselves to whatever the new reality is.
Right.
And we'll be okay, because we're resilient, you know.
Mm-hmm. On that point, healthcare
Okay.
being in the state that it is, I believe in holistic. I don't believe in doctors. That people put too much faith like they're God. I know,
Yeah.
but hit my family hard. My older sister has lung problems, and she had it and was in a coma for a very long time.
Mm.
While she was in the coma, her son died from COVID,
No.
and her that was her second son that passed away. She had to learn to walk, and talk all over again. She's forever in a nursing home. But back in Europe in the plague, during the plague, they had the the people that robbed the dead. They had the beaks and the masks.
Oh yeah.
In those beaks, they had oils that kept them alive, essential oils. And now it's called thieves, which has cinnamon and clove and um, rosemary and all kinds of these oils are so amazing because of the healthcare. Do you think that people will fall back on what they used to have, the natural things like herbs and oils and things like that? Do you think that will become more prevalent than, because people can't afford it? And I mean, my mother grew up in Vermont. That's what they used. They had bag bomb. They used on horses' udders, but they used it also on themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
No,
and it works so much better.
I think it's a valid question. So let me just look to see what I see.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, not so much essential oils and all that, but more the the natural healing properties and the combination thereof. Like some of the old texts, where uh, I mean, a lot of witches back in the day would do this in the forest. They would gather, certain mushrooms and
Right.
certain,
Hmm.
um, because some things that can heal you, like arsenic,
Right. Right.
in, in
You
very
kill you.
in very small amounts is very healing, but in large
Right.
amounts it can kill you. So I think there will be an education process as to how
Hmm.
how to combine and how much of each thing to combine. And the problem with releasing that to the public at large is that most people will just overdose. People do, unless you give them a guideline and tell them what the dosage is and do not exceed this dosage. uh,
Right.
and I think that's where pharmaceuticals were born.
Yeah, that's absolutely, yeah, exactly.
For the the shutting down of people. Just people get desperate and then they stop following protocol, and they're just like, I feel bad, I feel like I'm going to die, so I'm going to take way too much of this right now because it made me feel better before. And
Right.
too much of something like arsenic, which you know
Yeah.
it can kill you,
Right.
but in a
Right.
very small, minute amount, it can actually take cancer out of the body.
Exactly. Like sumac too.
Yeah,
That in small amounts.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Well, sumac used to grow around where I grew up, and
Oh yeah.
we were all told don't touch those. But you can actually cook with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
it's definitely something you can cook with, but if you do too much,
Right.
if
As
you
with anything.
if you do too much nutmeg, like nutmeg was used for seeing psychically and
Really, I didn't know that.
peering into the future, and many psychics would take an abundant amount of nutmeg, and grind it into their food, because they would have, it's hallucinogen, at a certain point,
Huh. Wow.
and it can cause hallucinations or visions.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and in a small amount, it will activate your third eye. So,
Wow. Okay.
do I grate nutmeg on certain things in the winter? Sure, I do. But I know enough to back off and not to over,
Right.
but I think that's the part that I'm talking about, is that um, I think certain elements of what you're saying are true, but some of those oils, some of those natural remedies will be scarce
That's sad.
and depleted.
Do you know that regular black pepper, if you ever cut your finger like cutting onions or whatever, and you have a small cut, put black pepper, wash it off, put black pepper on it, and it's in antiseptic. It seals it. You won't feel any pain anymore, and
Well, the
it'll
same thing
actually
with
seal it.
cloves. If you take cloves and do that, it'll do the same
Hmm.
thing. That's why they put clove oil in many liquid Band-Aids, because it
Yep.
actually works as an antiseptic and antibiotic at the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I studied nutrition for over 10 years, so some of this I already knew, but
Yeah.
you know, it's the amounts, it's the dosage, it's
Right.
can you stop human beings from getting desperate and going crazy when, you know, they feel like they're going to die, like they have a very high temperature and they don't trust it.
Right. Right.
Oh, well, if I take more of it, I'll get better. You know,
Right.
and that's the problem with any of that, is that
Right.
it can turn on you. Any healing property can also kill you.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, will that be the new whatever it is? I don't know if it'll take over the whole planet.
Hmm.
Again, I think we're all at different stages of growth as souls,
Right.
and the ones that are more progressed will obviously be leaning towards a homeopathic type of remedy. But
Hmm.
you know, you have others that are more baby souls, and they just freak out, you know, like, hey, I've got 104-degree temperature and I'm going to die. And then they
Right.
start taking anything that's within reach,
Yep.
you know.
Not good. Yep.
So I feel like, you know, it's not going to be one thing fits all.
Right.
I'm more scared about this polar shift that I'm seeing. That seems to be the biggest thing.
That's scary.
Uh,
Very scary.
you know, I don't know if it'll affect our lifetime as much, but it's something that I'm seeing where, you know, everybody's going to have to adjust.
So, like tomorrow's the full moon, and with the full moon, things happen. I get very antsy, very anxious. I see things. It's like a vibrate. Is that like a vibrational thing? Is that
Well,
what the moon?
it's a gravitational pull.
That's it. Yeah.
It's a, you know, it's kind of like what I was talking about with the sun being too close. You know, when
Right.
this event happens and the sun is too close and they have to erect these domes over various cities in order to
Hmm.
protect them from the UV rays, you know, it I mean, it'll scorch your skin the second you step into it.
Right. Right.
So I think I think a part of the earth, you know, and where it rotates will be very close to the sun.
Wow.
It will shift, it will be thrown out of a certain orbit, is what I'm seeing.
Really.
Yeah, and it's going to change.
Hmm.
So not so much the asteroids, just from what I'm seeing tonight. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
everything, but this is what I'm being shown right now. So I can just, I know they're different. I know the poles will be in different places.
Wow. And you think the collective energy of people and the negativity, like you said, do you think that has something to do with it?
That definitely impacts and reads into, you know,
Right.
a different, the way the world will, the changes that happen. You know,
Yeah.
if we're on a higher frequency, then we should be okay.
Hmm.
you know.
I
Um,
hope so.
if everybody runs around desperate and screaming, well, then we have a problem.
Right.
You know, I honestly think that if we don't start looking at our individual behavior as
Hmm.
souls, like as individuals, and like each thing that we do, and start checking ourselves,
Yeah.
there's going to be a problem later. And we're allowing certain leaders of certain countries to just,
Hmm.
like we're the toys that they play with.
It's like all of a sudden the really bad has been unleashed, and all the good that you think would be in people are not there. They're not there, and I think it's just being shown. And so I don't know. It's just sad. It's just sad how things have progressed so bad this past year. But I think it was always laying there dormant until somebody brought it up. You know.
Look, every time in history, it had to get worse before it got better.
Right.
Every
Right.
time in history, we have not risen as souls as a collective in order to affect these kind of changes. Oh, just magically, all of a sudden
Right.
we wake up awakened.
Right.
It's historical reference. You know, states
Right.
that we have to we have to go through something worse in order
Yeah.
to shake ourselves awake and see what we're doing.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that we've risen above that yet, where we
No.
learn by just being more progressed, and we just stop ourselves from going to that place. It always has to get worse before it gets better.
Right. Right. You
Which,
know.
you know,
No. Go ahead.
I just, and part of that is like everybody's looking for something else to hold on to, like some sort of pacifier. It's like,
Mhm.
hold on to yourselves, guys.
I think that's how it started. Exactly.
Hold on to yourselves. And you've always had the ruby red slippers, okay? You've
Mhm.
always had the power to make it better. You've always had that. There's no
Right.
reason why you have to hold on to externals in order to to change things for yourself.
I think because people aren't confident in themselves either. You know.
Well,
So
and it's because they allow it to be taken from them. They allow it to
that's
be
that's right.
extracted from their core, and they find themselves in self-doubt 24/7. And
Mhm.
I'm sure that's very, um, it's hypnotic, for certain power mongers who just use that to better
Right.
themselves, and they find that access, and they find it being very addictive, and they need to feed on other people's power and their life force. And it
Mhm.
becomes a problem. Where we can actually change that is change it in yourself.
Right.
change
Just
change it in yourself.
just like you said with the new year, and by January everything you know has to change within you for the better and get rid of all the bad. You know.
Well, and we made up this calendar, the way it is. But January actually isn't the start of everything. It's
No.
usually different times of the year. But
Right.
um, our timeline, the way we view it as a collective, we're in the year 2026. But I mean, it's actually different from how
Mhm.
we view time. This is just our common thread of, we had to have a reference for how we all view time.
Right. Right.
So this is how we're doing it. Uh,
Right.
I think if everybody would stop worrying about what everybody else is doing and start looking at yourself, look in the mirror, see what you need to fix there first.
Right.
And then everything will automatically go back into place again, go back into balance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just my thoughts.
Yep.
So thank you, Tanya. Did you have another
Sure.
question?
No, that was it. Thanks.
Hopefully that, clarified a few things. All right.
Yeah.
So I am going to put it out there for anybody else before we wrap up things. But this is interesting conversation tonight. We always
I think this has been great, and I've appreciated it. And I really feel like not only do we look inward, but we also need to look outward as a community and to reassess and get back with people. There's so much isolationism, and people feel left out, and they don't feel a part of things. And I think we've kind of maybe 2020 did that. And I would just implore anyone to just reach out and be a part of other people's lives, and to have that communication and that voice and that, or just an ear.
now I agree with that, and I think that the only way you can really connect with people outside, though, is to correct what your balance is inside yourself first. Because if you don't, and you try to connect and you're not in balance, then you are infecting the next person you connect with that imbalance.
Agreed.
So both those things can be accurate. So thank you so much, you guys. Let me see who else is wanting to say. Hold on. I'm looking at requested. All right, Douglas, get your ass in here and tell me what you got to say. All right. All right. What are we talking about now? Hey,
Yo, what's up?
I can hear you.
My
Yay.
only 2026 prediction is more of your amazing energy. Just here for the lesson.
Well, thank
Just
you.
glad I finally was able to make one of these.
This is the Douglas we've been talking about, everybody. The one that showed up on my timeline, and all of a sudden everybody was in shock. So, did you have a question? You still there? He left. Wait. Did he leave? He got cut off. All right. Well, if you want to come back, I'll be on here for a couple more minutes. Thank you. I'm trying to be as good as I can. You know what? The other thing that I saw, one other vision popped in, and it was just a brief one that I saw. And it actually had to do with aliens, believe it or not, because somebody that doesn't come into these podcasts actually asked me about that earlier today and said, well, what do you see about that? What do you see about alien life coming in and infiltrating and taking over our planet? And are they monitoring, or are they here to harm us? Are they threatening us in some way? And I'll do a whole podcast on that. Let me just say that. I'll do a whole other podcast on that. But as far as what I could see when they asked me, I think that just like mutations happen here on Earth, mutations in every single life form. we see mutation of different strains of life. They're affected by whatever catalyst causes them to mutate. I think the same thing has happened where alien DNA could be introduced. Yes. And I'm just going to say that I feel that that's a possibility, and I feel that it has already happened. And maybe others out there disagree with me, but I think it's already happening. I think there is alien DNA that has mixed with this planet in some way, whether whatever the life form is, whether it's animal, human. Mutations can happen that quickly. All you have to do is splice it together. So that's just my thought on. Whoa, what the hell was that? See, that's the noise I'm talking about. That's these weird noises that Elon has on these spaces. They come out.
That was the aliens.
I was just going to say that.
I have no idea what that was, but I didn't touch anything. I'm just sitting here, and then that noise came up. I don't know what that thing was. So anyway, I'm just going to say that I do believe that can happen. I do believe, and I believe right now that it is alien DNA. Could that be spliced with ours? And has it happened already? I think so. I think so. I think it's very subtle. I don't think it's this. I think it was meant to be subtle and not noticeable. To blend in. I'll say that much. And that's going to be a whole other podcast one Friday night. We will do that, and we will scare ourselves with what we see. And then I'll hear all your stories about that. But, I've read people who have had encounters. I said that before. They've actually had implants that were taken out of their wrist or their arm, or they've had other things, things that they can't explain. So is that real? Is that just everybody collectively losing their minds? Are we in danger of being overrun as a planet or a society? No. But I think there's a level of, we have to look at things in a positive way. Sometimes it's not about conquering us as human civilization. It's about maybe we could be better. Maybe interacting with that DNA might make us better. It might improve our thinking processes. It might improve our community, and how we think of each other, and maybe there's a positive aspect to that happening. But again, that's going to be a future podcast. All right. So I need to know if anybody else needs to come in here and just say your piece, ask a question. If you all are, Michelle, did you have
Yes,
another
I had.
question? Okay.
Yes, I was just thinking we just got a new mayor, Mom Donnie, and I was just wondering what's going to happen with him. Is he going to be
A nightmare?
true to form or a nightmare? Anything. I just want some information on him.
All right. Let me take a peek. Donnie. Huh. Well, you know what this looks like? Um, his position there might be cut short.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm seeing some sort of yeah. Is it? I mean, I don't know if it's like some sort of an fairies. I don't know what it is, but it just looks like there's something that comes out of the closet here, and
Oh boy.
uh, and there's a light shed on it, and let me just see what it has to do with. Yeah, it's showing me again that his time in office might be cut short.
Wow. Another fail, huh? Oh
Well,
boy.
it's it's almost expected now. Somebody
I'm telling you,
somebody gets elected,
you just
and
can't get it right.
you find yourself, you know, you find yourself expecting people to be less than honorable. You know,
Hmm.
is there honor among thieves? But I honestly think that it won't. That there's something going to happen here. Some sort of a, a an uncovering of something.
Mm,
I'm not so sure it's like in his past. I think it's in his present. I think it's something he's doing right now.
wow.
And nobody knew about it. And apparently it's enough of a scandal to replace.
Wow.
That's what this is showing right now. So I'm not sure what what that event is.
Time will tell.
It looks like a scandal of some sort though, and he won't be there for the full term.
Wow.
So I don't know if that helps.
Oh, no, it helps. I was on the fence. I wasn't sure, you know, I'm when it comes to politicians, I'm not very trusting, and I was hoping he seemed to be very personable, and I was thinking maybe we got lucky, but
Well, you could be nice as hell, but you could be hiding scandal just underneath the surface. You just don't know.
well, that's
You don't know.
politics.
I mean, that's the best politicians are the ones that are able to hide it, and
Exactly.
get away with
But
it
I don't
unnoticed.
trust them. Yeah.
You know,
Wow. Well,
so
thanks,
that's
Carla.
what it is. So thank you, Michelle. All right. So there is anybody else that has a question? Just send me a request right now, and I will put you on. And if you I don't care what it's about. It can be about, I mean, we've covered everything tonight from aliens to polar caps to World War III to, you know, banking systems changing, our timeline is changing. So, the thing that I said though before about Revolutionary War times, we're basically back in that whole cycle again. We're back in that same pattern, and the universe is very, very clever, and will swing us back into the orbit of something we haven't learned, or to check to see if we have learned it.
So
So
on the revolutionary time frame, like how do you feel? Because I feel like maybe Gen Z, which is I think my kids,
mm,
um, weren't raised completely in the cyber world. They're still kind of grounded. They're going to maybe be that pole that maybe makes change. What are you seeing with that?
with Gen Z, let me
Not the millennials, because but the
yeah,
Gen Z.
all right, let me look. Let me see what their contribution might be here. Let me see. Let me see. What I'm being told is that Gen Z will bring back a sense of creativity that we haven't embraced in a long time. You know, it's almost they seem to be hearkening back to, remember the Renaissance? It's almost
Yes.
that,
Yes.
like the Renaissance. And these are the same souls coming back in different form to give us a new sense of a renaissance. That's what I was being told. So I don't know, but that sounds good to me. I mean, you know, I think we need something else other than just following rules and being robots, you know, and just going through life without creating something. The whole reason we're here is to create, right? Something. But I think that's what that generation is going to contribute on the whole, a renaissance. I'm here for it. I don't know about you, but I am.
I am. I feel that. I feel that.
So I honestly believe if there's some way, somehow, uh, we can. Oh, Douglas is saying that his phone ran out of juice and he gave up on. Oh, it gave up on life. I thought he was telling me he was giving up on life. I'm like, oh my god. Um, Apparently, half charging is not survival. Okay, so Douglas, did you want to get back in here? You have to send me another request because I have to add you back in. If you want to talk and ask a question, but God knows his questions are usually like the kind of questions that have 20 parts to them. So like I have to be prepared for the question when he asks it. The question will be so interlaced and have so many layers that I'm going to have to be on my game. All right. So if you need to get back in and ask me another question, just do so. So anyway, I am looking. You know, that would be an interesting podcast to look at the different generations and like what did they like what is their purpose here? we could
I think it would. Absolutely.
we could just take each generation and pick it apart, right? And you know, we could just go in and dissect them and say, okay, well, this is the collective contribution of your generation, and this is what you're going to do. But yeah, that's the word that came was renaissance. That's what Gen Z is supposed to do. They're supposed to awaken that promise to create, you know, that promise. Annie, I got you in here. Miss Annie. Okay. Turn your microphone on. Annie.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
It's been such a long time, my dear. So what's going on?
Good, good. I've been life. But I've just been listening and whatnot, and I hadn't really had anything to contribute. But when you said that last thing about the podcast about the generations, I was wondering if you've ever read anything by Dolores Cannon.
I have. In fact, I have.
Okay, yeah, I'm a big Dolores Cannon fan, and when you said that, it reminded me of her book, The Three Waves of Volunteers, um, which I'm not sure if you've read or not, but
I don't know if I've read that. I've read um certain like quotes from books that you know in different like she used to do like talking, speaking engagements, and I would, I would get little clips of it. People would send them to me. So tell me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's it about?
Well, she's written, so many books. And this particular one, it's been quite a while since I've read it, so I don't know, exactly the details and whatnot. But the basic idea is that she wrote that there were these three waves of volunteers of souls, that at some point prior to the baby boom, call kind of went out, to the universe asking for volunteers to come to Earth because this was going to be a particularly difficult, time in Earth's history, but was, important for our development as a, planet and society and whatnot. And anyway, so the book talks about how, these volunteers were coming in waves, and then the first generation of those volunteers was the baby boomers. The second was uh, Gen X and millennials, and then the third was like the Gen Z and the Alpha. She didn't use those terms, but that's kind of what she alluded to, was these three waves.
I think
And how,
let me interrupt. I think
yeah,
she outlined it through the years they were born, right? Like
yeah,
that's the grouping, and I don't think that she gave those names to it. I think she just said those souls born between this and this.
basically, yeah. If she
Okay.
used any names, I think she might have specifically said baby boomers, just because she was writing at a time when the boomers were just called that.
Okay.
But um, but yeah, the second two generations are going by like approximate years of birth, but that there were these three waves of new souls who were here because they were responding to the call. Not everybody, obviously, but like among the people in this generation are a lot of these volunteers, and that these three generations would see, um would be kind of the catalyst of um getting us into this kind of complete upheaval and like sort of reconstruction and whatnot. And I think that, and I just think of it a lot, it's something that I think of often as I just kind of watch things, because the baby boomers were so uh were so I guess pivotal in the way that they kind of created so many things that you know dictate how society works, like
Well,
from
they were the foundation builders.
right, yeah, there's
Foundation builders
definitely
were the boomers. They kind of, laid the structure of and everybody else, it was like a gingerbread house where, they laid the structure of the house, and then the rest of the people decorated.
right, exactly. And for there was I feel like the baby boomers kind of as a generation are so pivotal because there's definitely so much change that they did in their time, what with kind of the um, rights for women, civil rights, and all that was kind of happening around the time that the boomers were kind of coming of age, and then just really shaking up society, and then which paved the way for then like the changes that like the millennials brought. So we, where we see things more where we're like, more and more equality and advancement and rights for people and stuff like that. But then it's like there's also the pushback, of course, and the kind of two steps forward, three steps back, whatever. But then you have Gen Z coming up, and now they're so um uh it must be very interesting to be someone of that generation, because they don't know anything from before, like technology, internet, smartphones, and sort of these rules that have been in place their entire lives, because like all like they know is basically post 2000, 2001. But things haven't really been so different. The world that we live in today hasn't been around for that long. um And so you have like this kind of just this melding of kind of just, so many perspectives and experiences and
Well, you got to remember
mindsets and whatnot.
they had parents and family that influenced their growth and their
Yeah,
choices.
yeah,
And you know, they sort of broke off from that influence. So
yeah. And
that
it's
was
it's
one
like
of the reasons why they don't subscribe to that whole thing is
yeah, and it's like it really
it,
does, kind of retrospectively has taken, three generations roughly to really see, such a difference between someone who was born in like 1945 and someone who was born in 2005, and the worlds that they live in, and the way that they approach the world and whatnot. And so, I don't really, have like a question or like a, summary or whatnot, but I just feel like it's really interesting to consider that aspect of, when Dolores Cannon wrote that book, kind of back in the day. And then seeing, now that the the Gen X and millennials are, adults, and Gen X and Gen Alpha are, kind of getting there, and whatnot, and being able to kind of look back at the past, 60 years or whatnot through that lens and just kind of see, you know, um, just how much these three generations have really changed the world, and then considering it from that angle again, what are the next 60 years going to look like, and so on. So I mean, I think that would be such an interesting topic to really delve into and kind of
I, I
um
I have to
you know
figure out, like,
yeah.
I guess I would attack it through like each generation and just see what comes up psychically for what the original blueprint was for
Hmm.
that generation. Like why was that group of souls introduced at that time? And then
Hmm.
go from there. And did they accomplish that directive, you know? And then
Yeah,
take it
yeah,
and
definitely.
maybe take each one apart like that, and then we could have conversation around what I see. But and then any stories you guys have. Yeah, I might be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be really cool. I mean, even thinking about especially those of us who are kind of in the middle, kind of the tail end of Gen Z, who maybe have baby boomer parents and then have kids who are, I don't, but like, people my age do, have kids who are Gen Z, Gen Alpha and stuff like that. And, kind of how we interact with each other and sort of what that mirrors as far as like how we interact with the world. So it's very, fascinating. And, I would, love a podcast about that, because I'd love to see what you see, and sort of what the bigger picture is, because it's very fascinating how the generations have played into
Well,
our
do
development.
me a favor and post it to me as a
Hmm.
suggestion, and then what
Okay.
I'll do is I'll save it and I'll create a podcast around that idea. So
Okay, cool.
do that, and then I'll take that idea and then we'll do a spin on it. No, but I think it's interesting to see this generational grouping or collective of souls as they come in, and like what is that purpose for generations of souls?
Hmm.
Because certain agreements with souls before you come into the lifetime, you have to be born at the same time in order to complete that agreement with that soul. So
And something that I think about too is, with like soul contracts and things like that, how it's um from what my understanding is that, like, you kind of make these soul contracts and agreements and whatnot, but then once you're born, because you have free will, things may or may not go according to plan, or you might um you know uh not do the thing you were meant to do, or you might not meet the person you were meant to meet, or whatnot. And like, so then once you get back to the other side, you kind of start planning on how to approach that again in the next lifetime. And that's like on an individual individual level, and I'd be interested to maybe as like a tangent of this larger topic of like, generations and volunteers, kind of being sent with a purpose, and then how, if and how things go awry, and how that affects the next waves, and so on, if that makes sense.
Well, let me just say this about free will. Okay.
Hmm.
So many people misunderstand that concept, and free will
Hmm.
is what would our universe be like without free will? Let's ask the opposite question. What would our universe be like? It would be a hell of a lot more boring, is what it would be, because free will and the opportunity to choose which path you're going to take gives you a perspective that's not robotic. It's not something that's dictated to you. It's the reason we're here is to have those free will expressions of a learning curve.
I think if there wasn't free will, there wouldn't be much of a point of having Earth as a learning place, because, like you said, having that ability to choose and make decisions is what shapes your perspective and your experience, and ultimately your mistakes and how you learn from them. Whereas if you're just doing what you're supposed to do and you have no control, either personally or in the grander scheme of things, then you're just going through the motions, and it wouldn't seem to me, it would seem like you wouldn't gain much from that as far as,
Well, and
spiritual
free
growth.
will, if you will, is what gives us our color. it's
Mhm.
it's what it adds color and dimension and shape and form, and it creates other layers of a prism that you can gather your information, that you contribute to the Akashic records once you cycle off.
Mhm.
So free will actually gives you the crayons in your box. You've got those crayons in all the colors, and
Mhm.
free will is what gives you that box of crayons that you can color this lifetime with. So
Yeah,
to
yeah.
remove that aspect would be pointless, like you said.
Right. And yeah, and like to build an analogy, kind of, I guess, if you are, like, say you're planning to go into high school, and you say, I'm going to do these classes so that I can and these electives, because when I'm in college I want to do this, that, and the other thing. And then you actually start, and you're like, I actually don't really like this art class, so I'm going to go ahead and take a writing class instead. And so, like, it's not like you're making the wrong choice, but the fact that you're no longer in that art class may have changed the way that your plan worked out. And so I
Well,
kind of liken that to, like,
okay. You're bringing up a good point, because this comes up in
yeah.
reading. So when that happens and you make a switch like that, and it seems to be a free will random choice, okay, and you
Hmm.
pluck yourself out of this one class and you put yourself in the other. The question is, would I still meet the person that I am supposed to meet with those agreements?
Hmm.
And a lot of times, yes. The universe will find, usually what happens when you have certain meetings with souls and you have to create, whatever the karma is, or finish the karma, or whatever, relationship dynamics that you have to forge, you have to do
Hmm.
that you don't have to do that just one way. And there are usually, when I do reads, I can see like 3 or 4 different ways that you can meet someone.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, and that makes sense to me, and that's kind of how I view it too, as far as like the future in general is not being set, but like, if I could take the analogy, one step further, where it's like, okay, maybe you were going to meet this your soulmate in the art class, but then you switched out of it, but then the next year you end up in the same biology class, so you still meet, even though it's just different. But
it's
then,
just the the universe is
Yeah.
very clever about how it will
Yeah. Yeah.
alter the path in such a way that it will create those intersections, and they'll just appear. They'll just
Yeah.
magically appear, and you'll be amazed at how that happened.
Yeah. So I definitely think that,
The
like,
agreement
you
is
know,
much more important than you switching the gears. Okay.
right, right.
So that's what I was trying to create an analogy there. I don't know if that worked, but
Yeah, no, no, that makes sense. And I think that what I meant earlier, as far as, like, deviating from that because of free will, is not so much like, things like that, but like, for example, um, you know, um, say you switch out of the art class and then you go to the biology class, but then, like, something happens, like, your dad changes jobs and suddenly you move to a school across the county, and then you're not in the same school with that person you're supposed to meet or whatnot. And then, like, you know what I mean? So, like,
well,
again, not
again,
wrong choices or
again,
anything like that,
there are
but just
other
like,
life events and other. You could just be getting coffee around the corner, and they happen to be there at the same time because they have to pick up something from the drugstore that's next door. It could be something as stupid as that.
mm-hmm,
That's
yeah.
where the universe gets very clever about how it adapts very quickly to a change, like almost
So, okay.
instantaneous.
So, so what you're saying is that, like, because again, I like, this is all kind of to my understanding, but I'm certainly not an expert. So, like, so what you're saying is that, like, even if you make choices that deviate you from kind of what you planned prior to coming into life, the you, it makes up for it regardless, and it's not a thing where, like, if you make so many deviations that ultimately, the path separates, and then it's something
If
you have to
the
try
agreement
again.
if the agreement is important enough, okay,
Okay.
and other agreements are hinging upon that original agreement, that you have to meet
Hmm.
that one person because all these other things will create a domino effect by which you met that other person. Okay. So
I see.
that's
Okay.
where the agreement becomes more important. The universe will find a way to create that intersection again. An
I
intersection will
see.
just appear out of nowhere. Uh, all of a sudden, they have like this yearning to get like some sort of sandwich at a sandwich shop, and you happen to be walking by, and they knock into you when you're walking by. It could be as simple as that.
I see. Okay. I see where my train might have gone off the tracks a
Well,
little
no,
bit, and because
I
I was
get
kind
that
of,
question all the time, and it's like, oh, well, now it's done. Like nothing is written in stone. These agreements are fluid. It's
yeah, because that's how
they're
I've kind of understood it, was that you could make, a number of choices, deviations that might
but
play out
but
different
certain
ways,
agreements in the hierarchy
but you
of
might miss
the
it too.
of agreements, like uh, you have levels of agreements. Some of them
Right.
have more importance that they complete within this lifetime because of certain things, certain
Hmm.
aspects of that agreement. God, it is raining so hard here now. I'm surprised you guys can't hear the rain. It's like it,
Oh.
it it's so loud here right now that it feels like it's going to come right through my roof. All right,
Oh my
so
gosh.
um, anyway, if you have agreements that supersede all the other minor agreements, those
Hmm.
agreements, come hell or high water, are going to happen.
Hmm.
Even if you
Got
think it's
it.
the most impossible of circumstances that could even happen, because you
Right.
move across the country, or you do some, it's such an impossible thing. I am
Right.
telling you, I have seen it happen. I have seen where agreements, if they're important enough, they will supersede the minor agreements, and they will come to pass. A different way from the original planning or the original architecture of that agreement, but it will happen.
I see. See, I was approaching it as like, there's different ways it could happen. Time isn't like, it doesn't have to be within a certain time period. It could happen later than agreed or whatnot. But I think I was also thinking, all right, well, you might make a series of left turns to the point where like, all right, well now, at this point you're so far off the track that you'll
No.
just have to try again next time, I guess is kind of what
I
I
have
thought.
seen the most impossible things happen where agreements will still come to pass, and it's the most unlikely way that it could have happened. Like out of the 4 choices of how these 2 souls could have met, it was the most impossible way. And I've seen it happen, with, it happened in my life a few times, but it also happened where, I'm reading a client and they're like, oh, well, it's done, it's over, it's never going to happen. And it's like, I'm sorry, but the universe just laughs and goes, well, I'm the universe and I can make that happen. So watch me, and it just becomes,
yeah
that's where
and
belief,
that kind of that principle
you have to believe that it can actually happen.
And that principle kind of applies in the broader sense too, as far as like not necessarily just meeting a person, but like, if you have a mission or like something you're supposed to accomplish, or you know or even in a larger sense of like your soul group has a kind of common goal to accomplish something, but so if you get off the tracks with like, kind of on every level, as far as like whether it's relationship, job, career, whatever,
Well,
what's meant to be, or what's been planned prior will still kind of right itself.
well, and in support of that statement, imagine if like everything weren't fluid, like it actually is. Like life is really fluid and the universe is fluid. So the universe adapts very quickly to something altering the path, even slightly. It will adapt.
Right.
And plan B goes into action right away. That's why there are a number of doorways you can go through for the same connection. And imagine if it were just so rigid that these agreements are written in stone and you have to meet the person this one way and it's only that way and whatever. I mean, it just, all of life as we know it would collapse.
Right.
Nothing would hold it back up again.
So just to kind of make sure that I feel like this makes a ton of sense, and I've kind of gotten some clarity that I didn't have before, but just to for my own benefit. So like, say there's a hallway and there's a number of doors, and you can go through any one of those doors, and they all lead to X outcome. But say like, I'm thinking you've got a hallway with a number of doors, but then once you've opened them all, there's no more. But what you're saying is that the hallway is infinite and the doors are infinite. If it's planned, if it's something
I don't know
agreed
if
upon.
it's infinite, but
Or
usually
like,
it doesn't take that many in
Yeah.
order for let's say a free will choice was made and it got altered slightly. So it didn't happen right at that moment that was planned for, meeting number one. Okay, you have meeting number one where it's at a certain day and time, and meeting number one. Let's say something happened and somebody was late, or there was an accident on the road, or something free will happened. Okay. So usually it doesn't take that many subsequent chances or doorways to complete that connection. Unless you're deliberately just trying to throw a wrench in the works and
going through
there are those souls that are very stoic and they just don't want to go through any door anytime. They want to break down the door and burn down the whole building. Okay, fine. Then they probably won't complete their agreements and they'll have to come back and do it again. But usually it doesn't take that many times from what I've seen.
So then would a better way to say it would be not necessarily infinite doors, but that the universe or the hallway adapts around the doors you've already opened.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Got
Exactly.
it. Okay.
That's
All right. That makes a lot of sense. And that,
everything is fluid, including the universe, including the way that the universe will navigate and create new doorways and new paths.
okay.
Everything is fluid and will adapt to every change at every juncture, at every connector, at every deviation. It will adapt.
Okay. Okay. That makes a ton of sense. And that is
Just like life adapts. Notice with mutations,
yeah.
life adapts the same way. And mutations become stable after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's definitely that's going to allow me to kind of reframe the way I've approached, just my understanding on all of this in general, not even just for me specifically, but like in general as a topic, and yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So yeah, I'm not sure how we got here. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You know what? All of this contributes to where we are in 2026. So it's
Yeah, as far as what's
part of
intended and what's
where we are and our thinking and our focus is right now. And that's just as valid as anything else we talked about. So
yeah, makes sense.
thank
Okay, well, thank you for giving
well,
me the
Annie,
space
we've
to
missed
chat.
you. You need to come back more often.
I should be here more often.
You should be here every Friday, like a staple.
Yeah. And then I had to, just I got busy, and then just things. But hopefully I'll be more regular again.
And if these things stimulate ideas and thinking within your own brains, and during the week it actually uplifts you into a better frame of mind as you're going through your regular run of the mill, whatever you have to do. So
yeah, it's definitely very valuable, and I have noticed the lack of it, as missing out. So I'm definitely gonna, be here more often.
Get your butt back in here. All right.
Yeah. So, thank you.
All right. Any other questions from anybody? Last call. We're going to take last questions for just anything. We've covered quite a bit here. So, we have some ideas for, and Annie, post that thing that you were going to post for the new podcast ideas. So don't forget to do that, because
I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, because I can't remember all of that and all of this at the same time. I am just capable of so many things.
Got it.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Anyway, let's wrap it up. We've gone. Wow, we went for quite a while tonight. We went for 2 hours, over 2 hours. But this was a good one. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. And, it takes me a while to wind down from this stuff, because these ideas end up generating other ideas in my psychic mind, and they're like little sparks, like little fireflies, and it takes me a while to wind down from these. So I'm glad it's on a Friday night and I can just sort of deprogram, doing something else like cleaning. So I will talk to you guys next time, and we'll do one of these new podcast things. So Annie, get that up, and maybe we'll do your idea next week. And I will talk to you guys soon. And all of this was great stuff. It's just food for thought, but more than food for thought, it's more like food for activating. Let's activate with some of this stuff. Remember, let's remember how we how we can take some of these ideas and spin them and weave them into our daily grind of whatever we're facing, you know? I mean, just take some of these ideas and use them. That's what these podcasts are for in the first place, is to help you guys get through your daily thing. And we will talk next time unless somebody else has another question. So if you have one, last call. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. Send me a request if you need to ask, but otherwise, we're going to sign off, and I'm saying happy new year to all you guys. And you've officially all turned from turtle doves now back to regular doves. Okay? You're regular doves. The holiday season is over. So you're back to regular dove status. But that doesn't mean or diminish any of that. And my love for you. So I will talk to you guys next week and we'll figure out what that podcast is. But I like that idea with the generations. I just have to work it into a format so it's not all over the place, like we have one little nugget of a theme. I'll figure it out. All right, we'll talk next Friday. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll have this up within the hour on the YouTube and all the other ones. And good night. Good night, you guys. Happy New Year 2026. Let's do it this time. All right. Bye bye.